Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, thank you so much for joining us on this day tonight.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Today is Thursday, Ambassador. Yesterday, the courts were supposed to offer verdict in regards to the issues that you've taken before them. And obviously for you, the expectation was that you are given your party before you go for a general conference. But you saw what happened yesterday. The judge who's presiding over the case that you are taken in court was not around, and judgment is expected to be delivered on the 27th. Let's begin off from there. This has been one of the cases that has dragged for a very long time. How has it affected the Patriotic Front?
The intended purpose was the Patriotic Front, and this has achieved its purpose with the use of the judiciary. The judiciary has been a very effective tool to silence the opposition, to attempt to kill the Patriotic Front. Just this morning, the judge called for a meeting, an inter-party meeting, where she made various announcements that she will be able to rule not tomorrow, but on March 27th, a month from now. However, she said there's a matter of contempt between Mao Sampa and Morgan Ingona that should be able to hear on Tuesday. Again, this is thanks to the judiciary. They are keen to kill the Patriotic Front. They are not determined that the Patriotic Front should have a life. This is a matter that was just heard between just two witnesses, only two witnesses. And the judge should have ruled in November when the matter, when the submissions were done in November. It's February, and we are still being pushed again and again. Couldn't she abandon the workshop and come and rule on this important matter? And from what I understand from our lawyers is that from their meeting this morning is that she has again appears to have pushed it a month away from here. Again, now that's justice delayed is justice denied. The judiciary have effectively denied us the right to be heard, the right, for the matter to be adjudicated upon. You must now understand when International Human Rights Organization says that Zambia's democracy has shrunk and that the executive controls all arms of government and all key democratic institutions, this is what it means.
How will this affect your convention? I don't know whether the expectation was that you have the convention after this court case is disposed. How will you go ahead to have the convention on the 28th like you had indicated, Ambassador?
Indeed, we have since learned the last 2 years that the judiciary is an active part to denying the Patriotic Front justice. So we made contingent preparations that with or without the ruling from the High Court, we will proceed and hold the General Conference. There are parameters we are putting in place because we are also aware that the police is working very actively to disrupt any proceedings, any formal meetings that we may have. But we are determined, even under these circumstances, to proceed and hold the General Conference. There were plans that it should be totally virtual, but we are again aware that the police are hunting. If there is a coordinating team which will be coordinating this election, they want to come and disrupt it and call it contempt. They are just determined. All wings of government and all institutions are working to prevent us from having this conference. But we are trying very hard, and we hope, speaking very closely with the presidential candidates, that we should pull this off.
Are you confirming that you're going ahead with the convention on the 28th?
The preparations are very advanced. The Electoral Commission is in place. The delegates list has been verified. The candidates are verifying the delegates list. We to have a last-minute Central Committee the other day just to approve, during the last weekend, just to approve all last-minute parameters and to give power to the Secretariat that all system must proceed without coming back to Central Committee, and they must ensure as Secretariat that they hold this general conference. I hope that we can come and give you white smoke in a chimney.
That's interesting, Ambassador. I would like to find out also the status of what is in court, because it appears that there's so many issues in court pertaining to the Patriotic Front. And so the one that initially we're expecting yesterday and the one we're expecting, tomorrow, where does it border? Because there's so many issues that you've taken to court.
So this was a matter when our brother Mouse, especially the PF president, expelled the 9, Brian Munduvile and 9 other MPs. That is a case that has evolved into a consent agreement between Raphael Nakachinda, our Secretary General, Brad Munduvile as the sued party by Mao Sampa, and then Mao Sampa as defendant. So it's a matter where we have now agreed to resolve all our differences and ensure that we did a draft agreement by both lawyers and took it into court. Like any other consent agreement, the judge is just supposed to sign. But from May last year, she's refused to sign it. Then she used the excuse that Mogani Ngona had joined the proceedings and that she had accepted to join the proceedings because Mogani Ngona said as a third party, he felt that they had the papers that their acting president and he himself were the official names that were at the register. In fact, that's why there are even contempt proceedings, because then at what stage do you join? Morgan Ngona was appointed by Mao Sampa, so how can he do something different from his president? Then there was subsequent issue of Robert Chavinga, but so the judge made the ruling in October that should not sign the agreement between the PF among themselves, reconciling and restoring the PF. That should instead hear in full trial, where she wanted to hear the facts on trial, and also to hear the parties that had joined, Morgan Ngona and Robert Chavinga. But when that matter came up, only Morgan Ngona gave testimony and Raphael Nakachinda. And the matter should have closed and the judge should have given a ruling. Then there are contempt proceedings arising from what Morgan Ngona was doing, where he went to Kabwe, sued the part when the matters were in court, when the matters under contention were still before Judge Zulu, and in the manner that they've conducted themselves. So there are also contempt proceedings. Those are the key issues that are in that court.
As Patriotic Front, you've been confronted with so many divisions. We have, there's literally 3, factions of the Patriotic Front. One led by, Honorable Brian Munduvile, who now is presidential aspiring candidate on the Tonse Alliance. We have Robert Chavinga, and we have Honorable Givenlewin. There's factions all that belong to the Patriotic Front. Generally, what is the feeling of the PF over what Honorable Brian Munduvile did? He was part of the presidential candidates that were expected to participate in your upcoming, convention, but he went ahead, and took over Tonse Alliance, and he was elected. He didn't take over; he was elected as president of the Tonse Alliance. What generally is the PF making of, this member of yours who was loyal but seems now to be working on his own?
There've been a lot of subsequent events, intervening events during the matters that we've had, the matters in court. we started with Bill 7. Bill 7, the party objected to it. We issued a 3-whip line, no one should vote for it. We had the bulk of up to 30 MPs that voted for Bill 7. So after they defied the party directives, they stood expelled. Then we had maneuvers around Tonse Alliance. Tonse Alliance was left by the late president, Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu, who had appointed Given Lubinda as acting chairperson and had appointed Secretary General Raphael Nakachinda, Secretary General of Tonse Alliance. And the founding documents demonstrate, which all parties signed to, that the Patriotic Front was the anchor party and it would produce a presidential candidate, and that the Patriotic Front will produce a Secretary General and will run the Secretariat. Those are the founding documents signed by all our alliance partners. So when a bogus meeting was held, called by a national coordinator, not even by the Secretary General, by a national coordinator, and claimed that they wanted to amend the Constitution, that meeting was illegal. It was irregularly called by Zumani Zimba, and he was called out that this meeting is illegal. He convened a WhatsApp group and said the meeting had reached consensus and had proceeded to amend the Constitution, make him, just a lot of bogus things. So again, as a party, as a central committee, we sat in an emergency meeting to look at the developing events in Tonse Alliance. And we came to an inescapable conclusion that the actions by Zumani Zimba were illegal. We issued again fresh instructions that none of our members must associate themselves with PF. What we saw, with Tonse Alliance, what we saw was a so-called expulsion. Zumani Zimba now, I don't know from which capacity, says he had expelled the Patriotic Front, which was appointed by the late president. He came to introduce what he said an ECAO movement, and he tampered with constitutional and founding documents, an act that is so openly fraudulent that in normal society he'll be prosecuted for fraud. And what happened subsequently is all a fraudulent process. As a party, we made our instructions very clear. None of our members must participate in that process. So subsequently, whoever participated stood expelled because they defied the instructions of the party. And sadly, they still want to call themselves PF, just like Chavinga, who's expelled, wants to call themselves PF. So what we did was to ensure that we I don't know if you can hear me. I seem to have lost you. Oh, thank you very much. So what we did was just to give those instructions and ensure that whoever participates in that breakaway Tonse, illegal Tonse, will have broken party statute and party instructions. And the few people that went there are considered expelled.
There's a difference.
Regrettable for us, extremely regrettable, because at this stage, we are supposed to be dealing with unity, same candidates. We are supposed to be dealing with fostering unity in the party. But to see our members act so disloyal, vote for Bill 7, go to a breakaway Tonse, is regrettable. But unfortunately, discipline is everything. And that's why you would admire President Michael Sata, who expelled up to 22 MPs because he didn't care. He says, I'd rather remain with 2-3 people who are disciplined than have 40 MPs that are indisciplined. Clearly, the party has walked that same path. It's better we are a few members at the leadership because the masses never moved, as demonstrated by Mr. Michael Sata. Mr. Sata demonstrated that you can remove and punish these senior people, but the groundswell across the country is never moved by that. So we still have a huge support countrywide, as demonstrated by our elections in Petauke, in Chawama, and in Kasama.
There's a school of thought, Ambassador, that suggests that everything that all of you are doing is calculated and there's no real issue attached to the confusion. Others call it a scripted confusion, and say that is your plan B, to want to ensure that the UPND are fighting from all angles and they don't have anyone to fight directly with. Could you confirm that the wrangles in the Patriotic Front are not scripted, but are genuinely real?
Ought to be very clear. The plan by President Hakainde Hichilema was detailed: take over the Patriotic Front, remove its official status. That's what President Hakainde Hichilema did. When he did that, he removed the powers from both Edgar Lungu and the acting president later, Given Lubinda, to punish anyone. Because without legal status, the seats of the indisciplined MP cannot be nullified, cannot be declared vacant. Because even when we write letters, no one would honor those letters. So the act to destroy the Patriotic Front is that seed sown by President Hakainde Hichilema to tamper with the legal status of the Patriotic Front. Even when we expelled, Mafinga MP, Robert Chabinga, no one responded to that issue. The entire confusion is state-driven and state-managed. What you are seeing is, I don't know if you remove fuel in the car, if the engine can start. It won't start. That's what Hichilema did. He just removed the legal status and left the Patriotic Front to its fate, because he knew they'll be indisciplined. As soon as people learned that, Given Lubinda, even if he expels you, you still sit in parliament, the indiscipline grew, the daring grew. So we shouldn't lose focus. That is why observers, and especially international human rights organizations, have never lost sight. They've said President Hakainde Hichilema has attacked democracy at the core and the heart of it, because he has stolen the largest opposition party in the country by giving legal status to his surrogates in Robert Chabinga. He has destroyed competition in this democracy by ensuring that the real Patriotic Front should not participate in any election. You should not lose sight that this is an act of the state. It has nothing to do with any script, because President Hakainde Hichilema spent a lot of time in trying to buy our MPs, he removed our official status. He attempted, to infiltrate even the existing leadership of our party. You cannot divorce it from President Hakainde Hichilema.
Don't you think you are the co-authors of this misfortune happening to you, Ambassador? Because time and again, President Hakainde Hichilema has denied accusations to the effect that he's the one that is causing the confusion. This confusion was caused by your own members, are the ones that caused the confusion. In fact, when we had an interview with Mr. Mao Sampa, he says that he didn't even receive any coin from President Hakainde Hichilema. And probably what could have happened is that the system took advantage of the confusion that was existing, not that from the word go, the plan was orchestrated by State House and President Hakainde Hichilema.
Interpretation, total misinterpretation. Who is the system? We need to go back to ordinary civics. What is a country? What is a government? What is a state? Here, President Hakainde Hichilema is head of state. No, the police can't move up to 300 policemen to Mulungushi International Conference on a day when you have an international guest in President from Tanzania. They cannot. It becomes a security risk. The head of state approved it. Everything that happened, ZNBC covering that entire sham live, spending extensive hours on a matter that was totally illegal, unconstitutional, defying democratic norms. It was live on ZNBC. you cannot divorce the president from it unless he's an incapacitated president. He doesn't know that the country is being run either by his aides or by third parties. But in my view, he's totally in charge. He's head of state.
Do you think in your heart of hearts, Ambassador, that with these few months remaining before Parliament dissolves, before the country goes to the pause, that you, the Patriotic Front, will be able to reorganize yourselves and regroup yourselves and offer a very critical competition to the UPND? Do you think that with the damage that has been created so far, there's space for your team to reorganize?
Thought Chawama was dead and buried. They thought that they could take away the seat from Honorable Tasila Lungu Mwansa. They thought, they'll just punish the Lungu family further. They've refused to bury the body. They've interfered with the process. They've allowed the impasse to go, and they decided not just to take property from the family, from the children, they also decided to take away the seat. This was in a way to punish the Lungu family, and it backfired terribly because the PF won Chawama. When they punished JJ Banda, the PF won Petauke. In Kasama, if we didn't have these internal squabbles, where our team that was in Kasama abandoned the ship and came to conduct an illegal Tonse Alliance election, we would have won even Kasama. In our view, we won Kasama, but the trouble was that we didn't man that election. That is just what happened. So you can see that the Patriotic Front is alive and alive anywhere and everywhere in our country. Even when we were deplatformed, some of us have been exiled, some are imprisoned. Whatever the state has done to us, the heart of our people has been PF. And as soon as they know who the legitimate leaders are. When we say our candidate is Nundwe in Chawama, our people have risen and supported Nundwe. It doesn't matter which vehicle we have used. So we are confident that when we have a leader who will emerge as PF leader, we will point our people to who is a PF leader. And we hope that they can shock and embarrass President Hakainde Hichilema, like we did in Chawama.
Again, I ask, Ambassador, do you think there's room for you as Patriotic Front that are divided to still come together and work together?
That has been the prayer of everyone, the church, traditional leaders, councils of elders. Everyone has tried to, even as late as today, people are still trying to reconcile Makepi Zulu, Given Luvinda, and Brian Munduvile. And that's why, we condemned quickly the arrogance that has been displayed by Brian Munduvile's camp, where they were now calling for people to join to join his breakaway alliance. Come on, Brian, you're just supposed to abandon your illegalities and come and see your colleagues in the PF. The door remains open. We just readmitted Dr. Chitalo Chilufya. He voted for Bill 7. He did an appeal. He led his complaint, and he was readmitted. Earlier, 2-3 weeks ago after Bill 7, we had issued some form of clemency that just appeal and the party will consider it. What Honorable Brian Munduvile should do is to abandon his illegalities and sit with his colleagues, the acting president, Given Luvinda, and say, family, we are family. At the heart of it, we are all PF. Let's work together and let's have a genuine general conference. You cannot go to a corner. You have 29 people there, all your friends, and you say you have been elected. You want to call that an election. Come on. the Patriotic Front as proper statute, Tonse Alliance as proper statutes. So our core is not for us to join Brian in his core, his 12-day ultimatum. Our core is to Honorable Munduwile to abandon the illegalities and the experiment is engaged in and return to the fold so that we resolve the crisis, hold a genuine general conference.
Do you think you're running out of time, Ambassador?
There is no time whatsoever. We wished that would have resolved this crisis just as it emerged on 24th October 2023. We wish that these matters we had gone to conference far earlier in 2021 and 2022 when we planned to have the conference. But we can't regret, we can't cry over spilt milk. We have to be forward-looking. What do we do with the remaining days? We only have 2 months before we have a presidential candidate that should file nominations, and we have elections, barely 6 months from today. So it's important that the leadership act with sincere and honesty and commitment to our country. This is not about Brian Munduwile. It's not about Given Lubinda. It's not about Makebi Zulu. It's about the state of our country and the trust that our people reposes in the PF. It lost elections, but they said, reorganize yourselves. You never know. We can give you a chance. And President Hichilema knew that if the PF came together, he stands no chance. That's why he keeps on scattering us, destroying us. But I hope that the leadership can say and see that some of the issues that are being brought against us are scripted, like you said, but not by us, but by President Hakainde Hichilema.
With this at play, Ambassador, like I mentioned earlier, we are on the 15th of May, Parliament is getting dissolved. You have been so confident of the fact that you are going to return, back into power in 2026, and you described the UPND as a one-term government. But before we can talk much about that, you have caused controversy with your, opinion polls that you've been conducting online. You've conducted 2 opinion polls, and the results have showed different outcomes. For some, they have, they've gotten this as a true reflection of the popularity of these candidates. For some, they have disregarded those, opinion polls. But maybe the question is, why don't you put yourself on those opinion polls? And what methodology are you using to?
Let me describe Emmanuel Mwamba. I am Emmanuel Mwamba. You know me, I run my own page. But over the years, I've developed a podcast which is linked to my page. And I've also established a newspaper with a team of reporters and editors. So the podcast and the newspaper are now institutions. And between them, we decided to host an opinion poll. The Washington Post here in America do hold opinion polls. CNN, they do opinion. Newspapers in Zambia, Diamond TV, KBN, News Diggers do host opinions. So it's not Emmanuel Mwamba hosting opinions. I've had the rare privilege where I've interviewed over 26 presidential candidates. Whoever has aspired, other than President Hakainde Hichilema or anyone in UPND, but whoever is aspiring from the opposition, I've had an opportunity to interview them on our podcast. And we rated them. Why am I not on the top 7 that we established? Is that, first of all, I've stated that my circumstances, where I am into forced exile, where my life was threatened back home, and I may not participate in the elections. So I've removed myself. I had to be realistic. I'm still hopeful that even in the next few days, few months, I can be allowed in my country. But however, we picked the top 7 who we thought were likely individuals among them will emerge a front runner. So that's why we got Brian Mundwile, Luvinda, Honorable Given Luvinda, Makebi Zulu, Dr. Fred Membe, Kelvin Fubebwalia, Harry Kalaba, John Sangwa, and so we got 7 of them. And we said, in our view as EMV, podcast and newspaper, we think that these are the top 7. Among them will emerge a front runner. And we didn't want to do these internet-based opinion polls, click here, click there, because we know that, for example, if I set up a page today and I want to amass 1 million people, I can pay for that. I can pay an Indian firm, I can pay a Nigerian firm, and all of the bots vote for me, and I can change. My page can grow to 1 million viewers. I didn't want it to be electronically interfered with. That's why I went for a very basic manual process. Number one, we relied on phone calls because we knew that a phone call will have an individual who can be traced, who is a real person. We just didn't want to deal with bots. And as a safeguard, the phone lines really weighted that opinion. Take, for example, yesterday's results. I had 65,000 people visit the page. I had 9,100 comments. 9,100 comments. I haven't seen an opinion poll that has attracted so many. And then we had over 330 calls that went through. Over 1,400 missed calls. They couldn't go through because I could only take, within 5 seconds, so many calls. Within a minute, I could only take so many. But that's how transparent we wanted it, and somehow foolproof above interference. Did Harry Kalaba win genuinely? In my view, I was not the one calling. I was not the one typing. You can go to the pages that we were broadcasting on. And EMV podcast is not your Takataka podcast. We've just won an international award. We are listed and rated. We are on Apple Podcast. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube. We are everywhere, and we've been rated and verified. So that gives credency to what we're doing. This is a mere opinion. It doesn't mean that Makebi Zulu won the opinion poll on Monday. Therefore, he will become president of the Patriotic Front and the country. No, just shows that at this particular, a strong candidate is Makebi Zulu. That's what the country thinks. A strong candidate is Harry Kalaba. That's what the country thinks. And the country has a right to change its opinion. If tomorrow any of them is involved in a big scandal, they will not be regarded as top runner. 2, even they themselves, if they mobilize their people, because voters have to be mobilized. You have to ensure that voters are impassioned to vote, to wake up at 04. In this case, you had people trying as many as 40 times just to go through. We had the case of a gentleman from Canada who tried 83 times. The 84 one is the one that was answered. The calls were so tight. The first one, we had taken calls for 3 hours. This one, we limited it to 2 hours. But in fact, the numbers doubled and were more than when we had done it 3 hours. So you can see the response from the Zambians was very, very good. And if you wish to call it bogus, you have to tell those 9,000 people that have commented online. If you wish to call it bogus or fake, you have to tell the over 1,500 people that we're trying to go through. Any opinion poll, Andrew, to the benefit of our people, the United States has about 200 million voters. They do a sample, only 1,000 people, 1,000 people. What about Zambia that has 20 million people? The US can give you a correct prediction from a voting population of 200 million, and they sample 1,000. I haven't seen any sample that's above 1,500. In fact, most of them are between 400 and 1,500. So those that wish to dismiss this information, they're doing it at their own peril. For me, if I was a candidate and I've performed poorly, look at Fred Membe in the first poll. He did very badly. In the second poll, he has come a very strong third. Why? Because I think his supporters realized that this was very important and they came on board. And for me, that's what I would ask my team. Where are you? Why aren't you mobilizing our people? Why aren't you informing them about this? If they love me, why don't they don't vote for me? And someone said, no, my people boycotted him. When you can't control people. And if you participate in a boycott, you destroy yourself like we saw in 1996, where UNIP and Dr. Kaunda decided to boycott. The result was shocking.
We're going to take a break. When we're back, we continue the conversation with Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. Well, thanks so much for still staying with us. My guest is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. Ambassador, before we went on a break, we were discussing an area of issues that pertain to the parties, standing legally, but also regards to how 2026 elections are going to go, especially now that the party doesn't seem to have that united front. Critics of the Patriotic Front argue that they were governed by thugs, they were governed by criminals, and these criminals looted the resources of our country. And they ask, why must the Patriotic Front be trusted again when in their tenure of office, they did all the bad things? They had an economy that was growing in the negative. They were cadres that were hacking people, and all you needed to do for you to have money is to buy, big boots and behave like a cadre. For those people that still have doubts, on how you are convincing them to, for your return, in government, what new message is the Patriotic Front coming with to the people this time around?
Yes, the party lost an election, and there was a moment of reflection, and the party decided to rebrand, accepted the issues of party cadres that had spawned some political violence. But at the heart of it, the Patriotic Front was a party that looked at the people of Zambia with a concerning eye. Look at the development that was done by the Patriotic Front. Clinics, hospitals, teaching medical schools, roads, bridges, dams, airports, power stations. The development that was done by the PF in the last 10 years is unparalleled. And, the PF even accelerated the development, for example, of Kafiwe Gorge that had been under the plans from the 70s, Kazungula Bridge that has been under the plans since the 80s. All these things were done under the Patriotic Front. If anyone committed any crime, you subject them to the rule of law and ensure that they are prosecuted. No one is above the law. If anyone committed an offense, prosecute them. However, there is no party in Zambia that cares for the poor like the PF, that cares for workers like the Patriotic Front, that cares for ordinary people. It's only the PF, for example, that would protect even street vendors, homeless people, that would respond when you have disasters, floods, fires, or anything. The PF is a party for ordinary people. That's why it's been very difficult. President Hakainde Hichilema cannot understand that after all the battery of assault he has unleashed on the PF refuses to die, because the PF is in the hearts of the people. And the PF, the people know what the PF did for them, and the foundation that was laid by President Michael Sata was that you should promote selfless leadership, servant leadership. It should always be about the people, not about yourselves. And there's now a comparison with the 5 years, disastrous 5 years of the UPND. They say that they've grown the economy, that they've grown foreign reserves. Come on, all those statistics are bogus. What's sustaining, for example, the exchange rate at 19 kwacha? What is it sustaining? Is it the increase in copper export, marginal increase in copper export? Because as of 2021, Zambia was exporting about 800,000. There's been a marginal increase of about 40,000 metric tons. Is that what is sustaining the kwacha? No, not at all. You know that those are artificial sustenance that they are doing. Um, why are they going back to the IMF? You have a government that has spent 5 years battling with the IMF, writing debts, failing to write off debts, rescheduling debts. Zambia is paying more in debt service, over $1 billion every year than it was paying under PF. So you have a people that have failed and are sustaining the narrative through propaganda. But unfortunately, you can't do propaganda with blackouts and load shedding. You can't do propaganda with hunger. You can't do propaganda with lack of money and lack of opportunities in the economy. They want to tout CDF. CDF is 4% of the national budget. 4%. It can't make any discernible practical change to the development of our country. It can put up a 1x3 classroom, but it can't develop like the schools that the Patriotic Front was building. It can't put up the clinics, mini hospitals, and hospitals that the PF was doing. CDF is pocket change if you look at the percentum in relation to the national budget. The heavily touted free education. Free education has been free in Zambia since 2007 when Mwanawasa abolished it. What has been there are user fees. When the PF came into office, they found user fees of up to 600 kwacha. They reduced them to 150. What President Hakainde Hichilema has done is just to reduce from 150 to 0. Who gave free education? I think that is President Mwanawasa and the Patriotic Front. President Mwanawasa made it free. President Levi Mwanawasa made it free. President Michael Sat and Edgar Lungu came and removed the user fees and reduced them to marginal amounts of 150. The school feeding programs has always been there as a pilot, just like social cash transfer. We started with 3 districts, grew to 6, 9 districts. Now you have over 75 districts benefiting from the social cash transfer. The feeding program has always been there. So the UPND have a habit of crafting propaganda around even existing things. You'd think that the Kazungula Bridge was built by them.
But suffice to mention that the president did acknowledge that the works at the Kazungula Bridge were started by a government that was in place before I came. I think he mentioned that, with President Duma Boko of Botswana.
He couldn't even stand up and thank President Lungu. He had to use broad terms.
We are going into this election, Ambassador, with some changes, to our constitution. Right now, the country and stakeholders are making submissions with regards delimitation. 70 new constituencies are going to be created out of this exercise that is being conducted by the Commission. I'd like to, get your feedback as Patriotic Front in regards to how you are seeing this delimitation process moving so far.
Even that resulted in Article 13 of 2025, amending the Republican Constitution, remains an illegality, and we hope that a new government can come and correct this. You cannot again implement new constituencies of up to 70 without building, for example, a national new parliament, without building an economy that can sustain such a huge parliament. The comparisons that Malawi has more MPs than us, the comparison that other countries have more, like South Africa, have more MPs than us, doesn't stand up to grade. In fact, what we need to develop is more decentralization than more MPs. You need to give capacity and power to the district, because if you listened to all the delimitation argument, is that we have no development. Why? Because our people wrongly, wrongly attribute development to an MP. An MP is a legislator. Even if you made 1,000 seats, there's nothing an MP can do at local level. He can't develop the area. It's not up to him. The investment should not be in MPs. The investment should be in the districts. That's where the investment should be, that the district should be capacitated, should flourish with proper funding and adequate mechanism of raising funds at local level. They should be given powers to levy. That is where you need. It's not MPs. MPs have not, there's nothing an MP can do. In many cases, when you see an MP build a bridge or do an activity in the school, many times they even use their own money. Why? We have let the lie prevail that the MP will bring development to your area. No, we should tell our people the truth. The MP can't do anything. It should be like here in the United States. You elect congressmen and senates. Everyone knows they can't bring development. They are legislators and they'll be sent to the Senate or to Congress. That's their job. They're going to enact laws. Here we fool ourselves that our MPs will bring development. In fact, all the campaigns, an MP will be saying, I'll build a road for you, I'll do this crossing point, I'll ensure that the schools are built, I'll ensure that the hospital is built. And a thing that can never be done by an MP. That's not his role. An MP is a mere legislator representing an area. We should just come back to reality, teach our people how our structure of government is. An MP cannot bring development. That's why the submissions are all skewed. No, if you give us this constituency, then we are going to have development. No, you will not. And our economy can't sustain that. A brand new Land Cruiser and millions of dollars in allowances in a period of 5 years. Our economy at this stage cannot afford that. So it's misguided. And it's going to be a big disaster for the UPND because, like I was saying, our people have raised hope that each constituency, each 116 constituency, will be delimited and they'll be shocked. So it's going to spawn anger when they learn that their constituencies have not been delimited.
Ambassador, as we conclude, with less than 200 days to go before the country goes to the polls, are you seeing any wind of change? Also, especially that we are at a moment where we seem to have a very much fragmented opposition and not a united one. Do you foresee a wind of change?
Very much. No, it's clear that our people have decided that they should vote out President Hakainde Hichilema. What our people have not decided is who to vote for. And we hope that who to vote for will emerge in the next 2 months.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us on this day tonight.
God bless you and thank you very much, and God bless to your audience.